Welcome back, champions, and let's get started with Spring Framework Web MVC part 8 of the lecture series, right? So far what we have been able to do, we have been able to create a controller, and wherein we, instead of making function to act as the request mapping method, we made the class or we made the entire class to be mapped with /add URL, and then we created two different methods, one to be executed on HTTP GET, another method to be executed on HTTP POST, right? And let me start the project. Now you can see that the project is working fine. All right, so let me expand the project and do some different things today. Now this is my sum controller, and actually for this controller I should have a different service. I should have a different service method. Alright, so for example, we have this add. Now if in case we have to send multiple items, for example, let me quickly go and create a table for you. So I'll create a table and I will say a table row, and quickly I'll close the table row. Alright, so let me do quick. So I'll say enter num1, write another table division to enter, say input type equals text. So I'll say input type equals input type equals text, right? And let me close it out, and name is equivalent to, alright, so I'll say txt num1. Okay, I'll quickly go and create two more here, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, num2, and I will say input type, submit here, and value is going to be submit. I say value is going to be also submit. So txt num2 and num1 are going to be now submitted to the server, and we are going to get the sum. So now what is the sum that is expected? Now we are doing we're doing HTTP post. Yeah, we'll go to the post method of sum controller, right? And I will say, all right, now I am going to do this, which is going to be I will take two values. Now I'm taking only one value at this moment in time, which is value is equivalent to txt name, and that is string name. So let me just delete this. Let me make it very simple like this, right? So I'll say value, just a minute, why did I delete this? Alright, value is equivalent to txt name, which is not txt namer, it is txt num1. We're taking values from txt num1, right? And we can say txt. The second value that we are taking is from txt num2, right? And then once we have it, so I can say txt string or integer. So just wait a second. Okay, txt num1 is what we are taking, txt num2. Alright, so we're taking two values if I'm not wrong. Right, txt num1, and I am taking txt num2, right? Which is the value, or both the values are coming from this txt num1 and txt num2. So we have already done. Let me control Z it. Let me undo it, and we already have this value txt name required is equivalent to true default. So we can create another right here. So I don't want this required or anything like that. So I'll say value is equivalent to, now second is going to be right, and it is going to be okay here. Just a moment. All right, now so we have to accept two parameters right here, so I'll change it. It is expected A bit of change is expected here. Everything else is fine right here. So what are we going to do here? We are going to call this post method request param, and we will not say value is equivalent to, I'll just say txt num1 is, I'm going to take value from txt num1, right, and let me just try and close it down like this. Okay, I'll show you from the beginning. Okay, so we are going to take a value request param, the value that is coming as txt num1, and I am going to take this as int num1. So I'm going to take this value as int num1. No need to do parsing. Parsing will be done automatically, right? And we had to type this. I was typing it only once. We have to type it twice now, right? I'll go ahead and say request param txt num2, and it is going to be int num2. So this is how you take two parameters, and without even converting them, parsing is going to be taken care automatically. Right, so txt num1, we're taking two values as post. Why? Because they are being posted by index.jsp as name txt num1 and txt num2. Right, when I click on submit button, add is called. I go to my sum controller, and which method of add is called? HTTP post is called. txt num1 and txt num2 values are being grabbed, and now what I say here, I will say int sum is equivalent to which is going to be num1, which is this num1, you have grabbed it, okay, plus num2. So this is what we can do right here, right? And this sum can be now passed to the object. So I'll say sum, right? So I call this sum, and message is the sum of two numbers is equivalent to this. So now we go to the view welcome. So let me go to the view welcome. Alright, so I'll go to views, and this is welcome here, and message remains message, and instead of that, instead of name, I have sum now, right? So I think the part is done. Now we'll start with Java based annotation configurations. Let me call 100 and say 200. Okay, it's still, yeah, the sum of two numbers is 300. So we've been able to grab both the numbers using the Eclipse STS, which is Spring Toolsuite version 3, right? And now let us see that we have this configuration. It's very old school. We know we have this front controller right here, and we have this web.xml file, right? What if we don't want to have web.xml file? What if we don't want to have an XML file at all? Right, because we're using annotation based configuration. So let us get started with the annotation configuration, right, and see the things we can achieve by using annotation based configuration using Spring MVC, right? So the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to go to my main Java. So I already have this com.interface package. I'll go to my com.interface package, and I'll say, hey, wait a second, I need to create com.interface. Yeah, so this package looks good. Alright, so I don't mind having this package. Okay, let me go to the package, and let me create a new Java class, and this class is going to be my main configuration. Right, that is the front controller, right, which is this dispatcher servlet. So I call this front front controller. So I'll call this as front controller, and I'll say finish, right? Okay, let's not do anything fancy here. Alright, now front controller is right here. So now I want this front controller to be my configuration, to replace this configuration right here, right? So to replace this front controller XML file. So for that, well, I do right here. So let me close all the files. So I have tons and tons of files opened here, right? Okay, I'll go to front controller. I'll say, hey, front controller, now you're not a normal controller, or you're not a normal Pojo class for me, right? What are you? You are a configuration, right? So you are. So you have to use this Spring annotation, which is the configuration tag. And the second thing that I am doing inside you, right, is okay, I follow this component based. Okay, we have mentioned the component based package as com.interface. So this is what we have to do again. I have to mention my base package, right, because I'll not be using this anymore. I'll be deleting it as soon as possible. So I'll just take this com.myInterface and I'll say, hey, you're not only that, I'm going to pass another annotation to you and say that component scan, you have to do component scan here, right? Where do you do component scan? Please go and look for all the components inside this com.myInterface package. So this is the package which is going to have all my components. So okay, now this part is done, so we don't have to do anything else, right? Sorry. And the second thing that we have to understand that this file here is using one more thing. Alright, now if you go, you can see that we are even using view resolvers here. So we are using this view resolver. We say that the prefix, the suffix JSP will be resolved inside web.inf/views. So you can see all the views are going to be inside web.inf views folder, which are my JSP files. So, and we don't want to prefix, it's automatically going to be suffixed at the end, just like here. Alright, so if I go to my sum controller, I don't suffix JSP. You can see I return the view welcome, which is automatically being suffixed by my front controller .jsp, right, within this directory. So this, if I delete, so I'll have to mention this as well, right, because view resolver is going to now happen, or the view is going to now being resolved at, right, so we will get all the views will get resolved in the front controller now, in front controller class now, right? So for that, what I'll do, I'll say, hey, wait a second, right? So I will create public internal, right? So I'll say it's internal resource view resolver. So that's what we are using here, and again you can see internal resource view resolver class, right? Inside this package. So I'll call the same, and you can see the same package is called org.springframework.web.servlet.view.internal. You can see the same package is used here, org.springframework.web.servlet.view internal resource, okay, view resolver. So same package is used here. I'll go to the front controller and I'll use the same package. So I'll say resolver is equivalent to new internal view resolver, right? Okay. Alright, so I don't have to create an object first. Let me create basically this function, public internal view resolver, and I call this as VIEW view resolver. Okay, so this is the function that I am using here. Why do we have this? Yeah, it must return. Yeah, I will return. So I'm going to return this, the instance of the class, right, internal resource view resolver, right, and I'm going to call this and return the same resolver back to the function, because I'm going to get rid of XML file, so I'm returning the same resolver here. But before I return the resolver, I need to solve many things, right? So this is a resolver. I need to say, hey resolver, wait a second, right? I want you to have this prefix, right? And the prefix is going to be, alright, /web. So I'll copy the same whatever it is here. So you can see /web.inf/views. So I'll say that it is going to be your prefix /web.inf/views, right? And what is the suffix? So I'll say resolver.set suffix. This is going to be .jsp. For example, if you are using JSF, right? So if you are using JSF, so you will use .xhtml extension here, right? So that's as simple as anything, right? So for that you can use xhtml extension, and any extension do you want, whatever you want, you can use it here right now. And now my internal view resolver is absolutely ready, right? This is how my view resolver is now going to work. So I don't have to do anything else right here. Fine. Okay. Now let me get rid of my welcome.jsp. So I'll say a new class. So this class will be the complete replacement of web.xml, which is my deployment descriptor right here. So I call this as web config. So this is going to be my class web config, but yeah, this class is going to inherit from so it's going to inherit from a very long class. So I'll say my web class, because it is now the replacement for web.xml, so it is going to inherit from, so I'll say abstract. So it's a very small, it's a big name, abstract annotation config. So abstract annotation, it's here, abstract annotation config dispatcher servlet initializer. So it's a very long file name, so it's going to extend from this file, abstract annotation config dispatcher servlet initializer, right? Because it has to work instead of my web.config. Now I'm having this web config Java class. So because we are moving from XML to annotation, right? So that's why we are using this. Now we have to maybe use all the implement, okay, add unimplemented methods. So we have to add unimplemented methods. So we are adding get root config classes, get servlet config classes, and servlet mapping. So now what we were doing in this web.xml file here, we were taking the URL slash and we were forwarding it to the front controller, which is not the case now. Right, so we have to take slash URL and forward all the requests to, right, my front controller, which is now my front controller class, not a front controller. Let's say it's not a front controller XML file. So I'll delete this XML. Now you can see I don't mind. I will say go and delete this file, right? So I'll just click delete. Okay, so now the file is deleted. I don't have now front config here. Web.config is here. So instead of deleting this, I'll say first let us configure it. Alright, now we have this here, protected string get servlet mapping. So now what we need to do here is we need to return a new string. So it is going to take array of things, right? So I am going to return a new string array right here, right, as slash. So this is what we are doing. So that my URL mapping for slash, I'm doing mappings for slash here. So whenever anyone types this URL pattern, so that's what we are doing here, replacing this servlet mapping of URL pattern slash with this, right? And whenever I type this slash, or whenever anyone types this slash, what you got to do is load a servlet config class. What servlet config class do you want to load? I will say, hey, wait a second. I will say return a new class, right? So I'll say return a new class array. So I'll say CLASS. So it's going to be return a new class array, which is going to be the file front controller, right? It's right here, front controller dot class. So I will say it is going to be here fr. So I'll say front controller dot class, right? So now whenever user types any URL which has a slash, the request will be forwarded to the dispatcher servlet, which is front controller dot class, and the front controller dot class is handling every single thing we used to handle in the front controller web.xml file, right? Web.config file. So let me not delete this. Let me delete. So it doesn't make now any sense. So it's nothing. Web.xml is empty. Now instead of web.xml, what do we have? We have web config, right? Whenever you type URL, you're going to this front controller.class, and in here you're already having your view resolvers ready, and you're taking the component scan on com.interface. So let me quickly run it and see whether it works. Okay, now it's being started. It should work. There should not be any problem, right? It should work absolutely fine. Okay, it's a long URL, so I'll have to go to my base package. Now click, so I'll say 100, 200, submit. So we're getting bad requests. I don't know why we're getting this bad request. No, 404. We're getting 404. Maybe because of some problem. If I directly go to add, maybe we are not resolving it. So let me see. No mapping found for HTTP request with URL. My notes put it in dispatcher servlet with the name dispatcher. Right. So we have some problem right here. Web.xml file. Maybe we haven't. Just a moment. Are we returning it back? Okay, let me see all the things that we have done absolutely right. Okay, this is my front controller. Right, we are returning the resolver back, right? So resolver, yeah, we're doing it absolutely right. Internal, okay, we have forgot to mention bean tag here. I'll tell you, okay, we have to mention a bean tag here. So I'll give you the description about all the annotation, all the bean style annotations in the next video, right? But yeah, we have to mention this bean tag, otherwise this is not going to be available in the container. So container is not going to find this, right? So that was forgotten. If I say, yeah, now this operation is not allowed on this page, go back, I'll say 100 and 200, so sum of two numbers is 300, so we're not using. If you want to delete your web.xml file, there's no XML file now, right? XML file is deleted, right? Let me keep it here so it doesn't work basically. And there is no XML file, there is no jar file, sorry, there is no web.config, or we can say dispatcher servlet configuration file instead of dispatcher servlet configuration. So I can make a new package. Can I do this? I'll say a new package. Where's package? Right, so I will say com dot my interface dot config, right? So I can use this. Why? Okay, it already contains source folder is this. All right. So create package info com.myinfo configurations. Okay, no problem. So I'll make this package configurations. A resource exists with a different case. com.myInterface, or we can say com.configurations. I don't mind. So now we have another file known as com.configurations. I can take this configuration right here, and I'll take this web configuration also in this configuration, right, folder. Now then, front controller is ready. It is, it's having this configuration annotation, and it's doing component scan on com.myInterface, which is here, com.myInterface, which has only one controller, and every single thing is working fine. So let me refresh and reload. Okay, absolutely fine. So I'll say 1000 plus 200 is equal to 1200. So everything else is working fine except from the fact that this should not happen here, right? For that we may require another service. So I can go and I'll say new Java package. So I'll say com.services, right? So this com.services can have this method or maybe a class, right? So that is calculate. So it can have this class calculate, and calculate may have public int, right, add, which takes two numbers, maybe int, right, a and int b. It takes two numbers, integer a and integer b. All right. So after that, what does it take? It takes integer a and takes integer B, and I'll say return A plus B. So that's what we can do, right? And maybe it can have now different functions, right? So we can have add, right? We can have subtract, we can have multiply, right? We can have subtract, we can have divide, we can have multiply, right? So we can say instead of this, subtract will return minus, and division will return the division, floor division, or maybe multiplication will return the multiplication. So now this is the service that is absolutely ready, all right? And what I do here, I will, instead of sum, now let me go ahead here, all right? So let me say that you are passing add, or you can say, you can create an object of service right here. I can say calculator. So you can say calcu. So this here, com.services calculate C equals new calculate, and you can pass here the object is going to be c dot add, right? And you're going to pass two things, which is this int num1 and num2. So now this is best to have a different service to do whatever you have to do. Now you can change it. If you want to change it to multiplication, you can change it to multiplication. So it depends on you, right? So everything else is done. So I'll go back, index.jsp 100 and 300, and you're getting the sum of two numbers is 300, right? So now this thing is done. I suppose you've understood it pretty well, right? What we have been able to do, cancel the front controller, instead use a different package, right? This is configurations, and inside this package we are going to use component scan annotation to do component scan on this package, right? Which is going to be dot my interface. So this is going to be where all the components are going to reside for you, right? And then you are using this internal view resolver, the same we were using with that front controller XML file. But yeah, we need to still redirect, right? We still have to redirect users to this, and bean annotation is very important. So bean type annotations, I'll create a separate video for that and tell you what are the bean annotations, right? And third thing that we are doing here, instead of web.xml file, we are having this web config file which takes URL. Whenever URL types slash, that means any URL that user is typing, this pattern, any pattern, right? All the patterns are going to get forwarded to front controller.class, which is now you're forwarding your request to the dispatcher servlet, and dispatcher servlet is resolving it, right? And everything else is working in a very proper way. And this is what your controller is. Yeah, we changed again in the controller today, and the change was, instead of taking one parameter, we took two parameters, right? Yeah, you can see this right here. We're taking two parameters, and yeah, you can use default value as well, like we used it earlier, default value and some other values. Maybe one, we used the default value, and we used the none or something like the required false and default value, right? So that we can do as well. So for example, you are using it like this, right? So now you can use it even like this, you can see. So here you can see there are many things, all right? So you can use it here, int num1. Okay, so you can use it like this and that. Fine then. So let me take a look at the timings. So we still a good amount of time left. So for that we can even see the different things, right? What we have achieved so far. But yeah, it still requires you to practice. I want you to practice very hard at it, right? And you still have good amount of time. I'll give you the perspective and I'll give you the rough of what you have to achieve, right? So now then you know that each and every request from the client, right? So the request comes from the client. So client computer sends request, right? So now this request is going to be first intercepted by the web.xml file. So now here, instead of web.xml file, what we are going to have, the interception is going to happen here by not web.xml files, but by someone else, and that someone else is none but your right? So we already created it, web config, right? Web name can be anything, so web config dot java file, right? So what is this file going to do? This file is going to dispatch or forward all the requests. I repeat, this file is going to forward the request. So I'll say forward the request. This file is going to forward the request to, alright, so it's going to forward the request to another thing, right, which is going to be your, right, which is going to be your this front controller dot java. So I write it down here. It is going to be your front. It's going to forward all the requests to front controller dot java. And here what are you going to do? Right, it is going to have two things, view resolver, right, okay, and here you are going to have two annotations. One is component based, and another configuration is, right, another annotation is going to be configuration. So right, component scan is going to happen on that directory. This is a very simple logic what we had previously done using XML files. Now we are doing the same using Java based annotations, right? So convert your project to annotation based project as soon as possible, right? And let me know if I can help you, write it down in the comment section. But yeah, now it's pretty easy, and now it's going to be a real fun working with annotations and working with Java Spring, right? And complete this and let me know if I can help you down in the comment section. You can call me, message me, or WhatsApp me in case if you require help. But be in sync with me, complete this, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye, take care.